You are alone in a dark passage, walking barefooted on stone. As your fingers brush the smooth walls, you can feel strange spiral designs carved into them. You know these are the same waves and spirals that you see when you hold your breath and press your thumbs into your closed eyes. There is no echo here. You are in the earth. Suddenly, you feel a space above your head. The rocky roof rises far above you to a point, showing just how deep you are. You kneel and face the back wall of the passage. There is nowhere to go. You wait in the still cold air, wrapping your furs around you tighter. Slowly, light from another world penetrates the gloom, shining down the long passage and striking the back wall in a single ray of winter sun. It's a moment of wonder, but there's no time to waste. You pick up a small piece of sharp quartz and start carving a dot and circle on the wall where the light shines. The wall is covered in similar dots made by your ancestors. As the light begins to grow, the contrast becomes blinding. There is no time to waste. You stand up quickly and begin walking back down the passage, stumbling on an uneven stone. You can feel the dawn air against your face, and then suddenly you are obstructed. Your outstretched hands press into an obstacle. It's an enormous rock, immovable. You can feel a river of spirals and shapes carved into its surface. There is just enough room between the stone and the passage roof for you to clamber over. You lift yourself up, and for a moment you are stuck, trapped between two worlds. The still, earthy smell of the passage meets the frosty air. Rivers of stone spirals press against your thighs. With a final effort you push yourself over, falling to the ground on your hands and knees and breathing hard. Your legs are grazed and your head is spinning. The silent world has disappeared. A real river is bubbling nearby. Trees rustle in a gentle breeze. Far off in the distance, you can see smoke from the fires of your tribe, rising softly in the dawn light.
Paths seldom trod.
Before the pyramids and Stonehenge, there was Brunabóinne, the ancient burial mound complex in Ireland. In 3200 BC, the enormous passage tomb of Shi Anavru was completed. The monument aligns with the winter solstice. An opening above the entrance projects the rays of the rising sun onto a wall at the back of the main passage. It's a stunning display of Neolithic astronomy and engineering. But perhaps the strangest thing about Shi Anavru is its door. An entrance stone blocks the doorway. It's over 1 meter high and 3 meters across. It weighs 5 tons and cannot be moved. Its surface is covered in spirals and diamonds. Shi Anavru was designed so that entry was difficult. The world of the tomb found its limit at the door. To clamber over the entrance stone was to pass through, for a moment, a place in between worlds. Shi Anavru was not the only ancient structure with a prominent entrance stone. Monuments built by the Neolithic funnel beaker culture in north-central Europe almost always possessed a threshold stone, which had to be stepped over to enter the tomb or dolmen. In modern internet culture, the word liminal is often connected with large empty spaces and strange feelings. But the original word comes from Latin, limen, meaning a doorway or threshold, a place of ambiguity which we cross through to reach a new place. The entrance stones of European megalithic passage tombs were the original man-made liminal places. Other ancient cultures adopted a slightly different approach. In the city of Catalhoyuk, people were often buried underneath the threshold. In the Hebrew Bible, There's the story of Hiel of Bethel, who may have buried his youngest son under the gates of Jericho. Some Viking tombs combine both ideas. People might be buried under a threshold, and then an entrance stone added as well. For many ancient cultures throughout history, burying something under the doorway was a way of protecting the building from danger. We still have this idea in vampire lore. The vampire cannot cross the threshold of a house unless invited in. But the crossing point of a threshold can also be a dangerous place. It's somewhere where things are uncertain and the rules we live by break down. People were still burying animals under doorways in England when Ben Jonson wrote his masque Hymene in 1606. A couple is going to be married and must cross the threshold as a symbol of their entry into a new life. The wife-to-be is told to make sure she steps clearly through the doorway. In the margin, the playwright noted, "This was also another rite, that she might not touch the threshold as she entered, but was lifted over it. That which I take to come nearest the truth was that only the avoiding of sorcerous drugs, used by witches to be buried under that place, for the destroying of the powers of generation." Whatever was buried under the threshold was powerful. Jonson suggests lingering in that place might stop the bride ever becoming a mother. Waiting on the limen might prevent someone ever reaching their destination. The writer Peter Berger has suggested we live in a world we have made for ourselves, a universe of shared belief and understanding, producing a reality we are able to accept. But when we are separated from the views and customs of our society, the sacred canopy, our perception of the world can start to break down. This is the nightmare par excellence, in which the individual is submerged in a world of disorder, senselessness, and madness. Reality and identity are malignantly transformed into meaningless figures of horror. To be in society is to be sane, precisely in the sense of being shielded from the ultimate insanity of lonely terror. There lies the horror of the liminal, the place in between worlds and identities, where the ways we perceive and make sense of reality break down. The psychologist James Sully was the first to use the words liminal in print in the 1880s. He was interested in how people perceived and felt things. He described a liminal point at which unconscious sensation becomes conscious awareness of something. Liminality was not a literal doorway, but rather a kind of perception. Sully's ideas were groundbreaking in the West, but a similar idea had long ago been developed in the East. In 1341, as the bubonic plague spread through Asia, a young man in Tibet received a strange dream. Acting on the instructions he received in his sleep, he climbed a high mountain and discovered an ancient text that was over 500 years old. He took it back to his monastery, where the book immediately became an important part of the Tibetan Buddhist canon. The Bardo Thodo, liberation through hearing during the intermediate state, is better known today as the Tibetan Book of the Dead. The book is designed to be read aloud to the dead, as their consciousness experiences reality in between one life and the next. This state is known as Bardo. The word conjures up the image of a river with a stepping stone in the middle. Bardo is a confusing liminal state, and guidance is required. Nightmares and illusions can invade the consciousness, but it's also an opportunity for enlightenment and to be reborn into a new life. The book encourages movement through liminality with a clear direction. Oh, alas, alas, fortunate child of Buddha nature, do not be oppressed by the forces of ignorance and delusion, but rise up now with resolve and courage. Entranced by ignorance from beginningless time until now, you have had more than enough time to sleep. So do not slumber any longer, but strive after virtue with body, speech and mind. Later Buddhist writings expanded the idea of the bardo to include dream states and even waking consciousness. Bardo, the in-between stone in the river, is not a physical place, but rather a state of mind that one can become lost and confused in. A guide is often necessary to move forwards. Arguably as important as the move from life to death is the transition from child to adult, and it is around the role of initiations and rites of passage that the concept of liminality has become most popular. Arnold van Gennep and Victor Turner argued that ambiguity and disorientation characterized the middle part of rites of passage. The aim is to create an imaginary threshold or entrance stone, a place of ambiguity in which the person passes over into a new state. A boy becomes a man, a girl becomes a woman, and so on. As they pass from one identity to another, they themselves take on liminal qualities. Hence, in many societies, the liminal initiations are often considered to be dark, invisible, like a planet in eclipse or the moon between phases. They are stripped of names and clothing, smeared with the common earth, rendered indistinguishable from animals. They are also associated with life and death, male and female, food and excrement, simultaneously, so that they are at once dying from their former life and being born. But it is also only in this state that they are open to learning what they need to be taught. In the dense jungles of the New Guinea highlands, the Urapmin people practiced an initiation ritual into a secret male cult. Boys would be beaten and disorientated before an elder would reveal secret knowledge of the cult to them. At the next stage of the initiation, they would be beaten again, and the previous revelations would be revealed to be false. New secrets would be revealed, and so on, until finally the true hidden knowledge was shared. Only once they had been left totally confused and terrified, their former identities pulverized with sticks and lies, were the initiates rebuilt in the image of the cult. Despite the pain, terror, and disorder, the guide brings the initiate through the chaos and into a new structure, a place where they belong and a person they can be. Liminality in these initiations is something which is manufactured with the aim of having it resolved. University hazings and sports team initiations still carry a little of this kind of liminality, although it is somewhat softened in modern culture. Far more powerful today is the aesthetic of the liminal space. In 2019, a strange image was posted to an internet notice board. Accompanying it was a short descriptive paragraph. If you're not careful, and you no-clip out of reality in the wrong areas, you'll end up in the back rooms, where it's nothing but the stink of old moist carpet, the madness of mono yellow, the endless background noise of fluorescent lights at maximum hum buzz, and approximately 600 million square miles of randomly segmented empty rooms to be trapped in. God save you if you hear something wandering around nearby, because it sure as hell has heard you. The Backrooms post has become legendary, spawning multiple games, countless YouTube channels, and the popularization of the word liminal on social media. In 2022, the liminal spaces hashtag on TikTok already had over 2 billion views. The Backrooms touches something powerful, a shared experience that is difficult to articulate. It looks like an unused storage room of a retail outlet, or the empty floor of a deserted office block. Perhaps you've just stepped out of your room to speak to your boss, and then you got lost on the infinite threshold. But there are no intricately carved stones here. There are no animals buried under the floorboards. There is no guide through this liminality, and no real resolution in sight. It is, as the anthropologist Marc Augé would call, a non-place, a space without relations, personality, or identity. The empty office spaces of the Backrooms were built for functionality. Now emptied of people and chairs, they have become meaningless places where the structures of our shared social reality break down. Rooms that were filled with sweaty suits and passive-aggressive remarks are now empty voids. Liminality sets us free from constrictive social order. There's a kind of relief. You can roll around on the floor, you can punch the walls, you can read a poem out loud. You can't escape, but at first it seems like there's very little to escape from. You are outside of social reality. You no-clipped through the walls of the video game and found yourself in an infinite empty place. But you're not alone, because with you in the liminal place is your mind. Without the sacred canopy of meaning provided by social structures and norms, the darker parts of the subconscious mind begin to crawl out of the shadows. Peter Berger tells us that it is in places like this that reality and identity are malignantly transformed, meaningless figures of horror. Like the Buddhist Bardo, people in this liminal state, wandering the back rooms without a clear goal and direction, are vulnerable to nightmares and terrors. There have been attempts to begin structuring the mythos of the back rooms. An enormous collection of lore now exists, including descriptions of multiple levels, types of entities you might encounter, and routes between locations. Perhaps we can forge some kind of sanity from the madness, bring order to chaos, and even find a way out of the liminal. But the true fantasy of the Backrooms remains their liminality, not what comes after. Ascending through the levels of the Backrooms is like being initiated into the Arabmin cult of Papua New Guinea. Each time we think that we found the real, each time we encounter a new terror and begin searching for another way out, the next level, the next reality, which is still constrained by the liminal. Because, like an abusive guide, the Backrooms does have something profound to teach us. We need liminality, and we have created a world for ourselves which does not recognize this. And so the liminal explodes uncontrollably out in lonely, unstructured non-places, or is reserved to the virtual corridors of the unreal internet. Next time you find yourself in a quiet train station, waiting for the last train, or sit alone in the office after everyone has left and the lights dim, reflect for a moment on whether you are missing something you need. It's a quiet sensation, on the edge of perception. The people of Shi Anaru cut out a 5-ton stone. They transported it to the entrance of their passage tomb and used quartz to carve rivers of interlaced spirals on its surface, each wave imbued with meaning and wisdom about their cosmos and its structure. They did this because they understood. We are imaginative, feeling creatures who need in-between places and guides to navigate them. Thank you, listener, whoever you may be, for watching this video. Please like and subscribe if you'd like more content like this. I wish you a calm and peaceful day.